1. The Phantom Hitchhiker. The clock struck midnight as I embarked on a solitary drive along a desolate stretch of highway. The darkness outside was oppressive, the only source of illumination coming from my car's headlights cutting through the obsidian night. Unease settled in the pit of my stomach, a feeling that intensified with every passing mile. The road seemed endless, twisting and turning like a serpentine nightmare. The trees lining the sides of the highway loomed like ominous sentinels, their branches clawing at the edges of my vision. My grip on the steering wheel tightened as I tried to shake off the growing sense of dread. It was then that I saw her, a figure standing by the side of the road, her thumb extended in a hopeful gesture. I hesitated, glancing at the empty backseat of my car. Against my better judgment, I pulled over, my heart pounding in my chest. The woman's appearance was ethereal, her pale face framed by dark hair that seemed to blend seamlessly with the night. She wore a flowing white dress that billowed in the wind, giving her an otherworldly appearance. As she entered the car, a chill settled in the air, and an eerie silence enveloped us. I tried to make small talk, but her responses were vague and distant. Her eyes, an unnatural shade of blue, seemed to pierce through me, and I felt a sense of unease wash over me like a tidal wave. I asked her where she was headed, but she simply smiled and said, "I'm just going where the road takes me." As we continued driving, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. The surroundings seemed to blur together, the road becoming an endless tunnel of darkness. My heart raced as I realized that I had no idea where we were. The landmarks, the signs, everything had vanished. A sense of panic washed over me, and I demanded that she tell me where we were going. She turned to me, her smile now a twisted grin that sent shivers down my spine. "We're going to a place where time stands still," she whispered, her voice sending a chill down my spine. Suddenly, the car came to a screeching halt, and the woman disappeared before my eyes. I was alone in the darkness, surrounded by an unsettling silence. Panic gripped me as I fumbled to restart the car, my heart pounding in my chest. Just as the engine roared back to life, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air, echoing through the night. My instincts took over as I slammed my foot on the gas pedal, the tires screeching as I sped away from the nightmare that had ensnared me. To this day, I can't shake the memory of that phantom hitchhiker, her haunting presence forever etched in my mind. I often wonder if she was a lost soul, a malevolent spirit, or something even more sinister, a harbinger of the darkness that lurks in the depths of the night. 2. The Vanishing Road. The road stretched out before me like a black ribbon, disappearing into the darkness as I embarked on a late-night drive. The only sounds were the soft hum of the engine and the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. It was a peaceful, albeit eerie, journey through the heart of the night. As I drove, the landscape seemed to blur together, the monotony of the road lulling me into a trance. I blinked, and in an instant, everything changed. The road ahead twisted and contorted, the familiar surroundings morphing into an unfamiliar nightmare. Confusion gnawed at me as I navigated the twisted path, my heart racing with each hairpin turn. Panic set in when I realized that the road behind me had vanished, leaving me stranded in a labyrinth of darkness. The car's headlights cast long, distorted shadows that danced and flickered, adding to the disorienting spectacle. I tried to turn around, to retrace my steps and find my way back, but the road shifted and twisted, leading me further into the abyss. My attempts to escape were futile, the vanishing road an inescapable trap that seemed to mock my desperation. Hours passed, or perhaps it was only minutes. The concept of time itself became a haze. The air grew thick with a sense of foreboding, and the shadows that danced at the edge of my vision seemed to take on a life of their own. Whispers echoed in the darkness, voices that seemed to come from every direction, taunting and mocking me. In a moment of desperation, I slammed on the brakes, bringing the car to a sudden stop. The world outside seemed to shudder, the very fabric of reality warping and distorting before my eyes. My heart raced as I watched in horror as the road crumbled and dissolved into nothingness, leaving me suspended in a void of nothingness. I was trapped in a nightmarish limbo, a realm that defied logic and reason. My mind spiraled into a frenzy of fear and confusion, and I screamed, hoping that someone or something would hear my cries. But my voice was swallowed by the void, lost in the echoing abyss. Just as I felt myself succumbing to the madness, a blinding light pierced through the darkness. It was a beacon of hope, a lifeline amidst the chaos. The light grew brighter, its warmth washing over me as I was pulled back into reality. I awoke in my car, drenched in sweat, my heart pounding in my chest. The road ahead was clear and familiar, the vanishing road nothing more than a haunting memory. I drove on, shaken by the experience, the events of that night forever etched in my mind. 3. The Phantom Highway. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the deserted highway as I embarked on a late-night drive. The air was thick with a sense of unease, the only sounds the soft rumble of the engine and the distant howl of the wind. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes were following my every move. As I drove, the road seemed to stretch on forever, a monotonous path through the darkness. The trees on either side of the highway loomed like silent sentinels, their branches swaying ominously in the night breeze. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel as I pushed down the rising tide of anxiety. A flicker of movement caught my attention. A figure standing at the side of the road, illuminated by the soft glow of the headlights. I slowed down, my heart racing as I approached the stranger. A hitchhiker, perhaps? I hesitated, then rolled down the window, my voice barely above a whisper as I asked if they needed a ride. The figure turned towards me, their face obscured by the shadows. A shiver ran down my spine as they stepped closer, their movements unnatural, almost ethereal. It was then that I noticed their eyes, two piercing orbs that glowed with an otherworldly intensity. "Going my way?" they asked, their voice a haunting whisper that sent a chill down my spine. I nodded, my words caught in my throat as I gestured for them to get in. The car's interior grew colder as they settled into the seat beside me, their presence sending a wave of unease through the air. As we drove, the stranger's gaze remained fixed on the road ahead, their eyes unblinking, almost hypnotic. I tried to make conversation, but their responses were vague and cryptic, as if they were speaking in riddles. My pulse quickened as I realized that the landscape around us was changing. The road was stretching and warping, the trees melting into distorted shapes. "Where are we?" I stammered, my voice trembling. The stranger turned to me, a sinister smile playing at the corners of their lips. "We're on a highway that only appears at night, a path to the unknown." Fear clenched my heart as I realized the gravity of the situation. I was trapped on a phantom highway, a road that defied the laws of reality. Panic surged through me as I slammed on the brakes, the car screeching to a halt. The stranger turned to me, their eyes burning with an unholy light. "You can't escape," they whispered, their voice echoing in my mind. With a surge of adrenaline, I threw open the car door and fled into the darkness. The world around me twisted and contorted, the road disappearing into a void of shadows. I ran, my heart pounding, the sensation of being pursued urging me forward. I stumbled upon a clearing, the moonlight revealing a path that led back to the real world. With every ounce of strength, I sprinted towards it, the phantom highway fading into the distance behind me. As I emerged from the darkness, gasping for breath, I looked back, but there was no sign of the stranger or the nightmarish road. To this day, I can't shake the memory of that encounter, the phantom highway and the enigmatic stranger who led me into its depths. Was it a trick of the mind, a glimpse into another dimension, or something far more sinister? The answers elude me, lost in the haunting mystery of that night gone wrong.